Hey, I'm FTFE and welcome back to the channel that dips stupidity in liquid nitrogen and shatters it with a toffee hammer. Today we look at a flat earther who just can't stop being wrong about everything. All of the time. He says the most insanely stupid things and then even doubles down on them, with bets that he then subsequently loses and backs out of paying.
I bet you £1,000 solar eclipses happen every single month. The issue is we never see them because they're normally over the earth, normally over the water. There's the £1,000 Matt Taylor. Put your money where your mouth is or shut up because you don't know what you're talking about.
He spews out the stupid with such alarming regularity that it's actually hard to keep up. He's a proponent of relative density replacing gravity and thinks the moon has a cooling light. He argues with people who actually have a science background and claims that physics teachers don't know anything about physics. He is dumb as fuck and seems to be getting dumber. Yes, he is back. It's the man who thinks we have a solar eclipse every month but somehow still thinks the earth is flat. Get your facepalm protection handy because Sleeping Warrior returns for the 4th time in episode 33 of Flerfs Are Idiots.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Thank you for joining me once again as we delve into the pits of stupid to look at someone so painfully dumb and willfully ignorant that all he's good for is being a source of entertainment. Sleeping Warrior, who is my nomination for Reg Rhetoric's annual Dumb Fuck of the Year award, seems to be trying hard to win that award. Let's begin with what he thinks is a checkmate Globers moment.
Okay, this video is dedicated specifically to the troll known as Blargo. It's also dedicated to Fight the Flat Earth.
Oh, that's me! Well, of course, we all know that Sleeping Warrior watches every one of my videos. Hi, Riley!
And for any of the morons that think gravity is the reason why the atmosphere sticks to the Earth.
Oh, so the majority of humanity then? Is that who you mean? So 99.999% of humanity are morons, are they? And we don't think, we know that's the reason.
We all know that gravity is not a force. Even if it was, it doesn't hold the atmosphere onto the Earth. Because it isn't capable of doing it. It's not nearly strong enough.
Citation fucking needed. Because in our model, otherwise known as reality, it is strong enough. And if you did the maths instead of just spouting shite, you'd see that. You're a fucking idiot, Riley.
Remember, gravity is proportionate to the mass. So the smaller the mass, the smaller the force. Gas particles are minuscule. They travel at high velocity. They require a force equal to the mass. We know that the force of gravity as per Cavendish was a 50 millionth of the object's weight, and it was not greater than. So for all of these little gas particles that are all buzzing around the Earth, that all weigh a gnat's dick, then you've got a 50 millionth of a gnat's dick that's working against these atoms that are all bouncing around everywhere.
It doesn't really matter how small the force is, Lily. The fact that there is a gnat's dick of a force there is the important thing. Every molecule of air has that tiny force of gravity acting on it, and with no other forces acting in the opposite direction, the net sum is that they are pulled down towards the centre of the Earth.
It isn't nearly enough. But what I'm going to show you is how ballers cannot scale at all when it comes to the gas pressure and the atmosphere point.
I will bet my left nut that what you're actually going to show us is your lack of understanding of anything in the physical world. Thing is, you've got to say that we ballers can't do this right and can't do that right, and you've got to assume that we are the ones in the wrong. Because if you actually applied yourself and did the maths around anything that you talk about, you'd see that you were wrong. But flat earthers don't do maths because flat earthers are all morons.
Here we have Mick West's wonderful gas calculator. I didn't know this existed until very recently. And you can see that planet G, big G, is gravity. And you can see the temperature. Obviously, as that goes up, they move faster. As it goes down, so like absolute zero is basically like, well, you can't really get it to absolute zero. Maybe you can, oh no you can't. But basically, the temperature is proportionate to how much movement there is. So whatever the temperature is, doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. No, just ignore the physical properties of what we're talking about. It's not like we need to actually know what things are, is it?
Okay, that's coming in at 212 parts per million, tap water. Don't know what that means, it's just a number. It could be unicorn farts, it's just a number.
Point is, I'm going to show you what ballers think is what gravity does. So what we're going to do is we're going to make more of them, and we're going to give them lots of temperature to make them move fast, and the planet gravitation is as high as it can go. And as you can see, lots of gas pressure buzzing around the planet, and everybody thinks it's lovely, and that's how they explain it, right?
Yeah, you're right. That is how we explain it. Gravity causes the atmospheric pressure. So how are you going to screw this up?
This isn't a vacuum when there's that much gas floating around. Let's turn the particle count right down. This is more like the vacuum of space. And we know gravity's not a force. So what we'll do, we'll turn gravity off, because you can't have any gravity. And that's really what's really happening with our atmosphere on your model.
Wait, what? If you turn off gravity, you think that's what's happening to our atmosphere? You can't just switch off gravity. That isn't our model at all. What's your logic here, Clucking Warrior?
So let's just put it more in their favour. Let's go with this particles count. We'll turn this up a little bit to give them half a chance. Turn the temperature up as well, even though it's not space, but it's freezing in space, right? These particles are not moving in space, but anyway. So with no gravity, basically there is no atmosphere.
Yeah, with no gravity, there is no atmosphere. Well done, Riley. You've just proven our model for us. Thanks for that.
Basically, there is no atmosphere. You do get particles colliding with the Earth periodically, every now and again. But there is no atmosphere, right? But the ballers think they've got this effect going on. This is what they think's going on. They think they've got all of these. Let's turn the volume up, the temperature up a bit. They think they've got this magical force of attraction of like there's something that's so big, the mass of the Earth relative to the density of the amount of molecules and the atomic mass of all the molecules in the air. And the Earth's gravitational pull can pull all these things in.
Yes, again, thank you. The mass of the Earth is, well, massive, meaning it's got a large gravitational pull. The force of gravity is proportional to the mass of the Earth. I'm confused. You're actually proving our points for us here.
Problem is though, when you flick the gravity off, because we know that gravity is not a force, watch what happens. Where the fuck's the atmosphere going?
Ha! If I turn off the gravity, then there's no atmosphere. Checkmate, Globers. I win. Fuck me, Sleepy Warrior. How stupid are you? And gravity is a force. It's measured as a force, acts like a force, and within Newtonian physics is a force. Just because we know it's an emergent property of the curvature of space-time rather than a physical force, doesn't mean it isn't real. Try getting in a centrifuge and tell me that fictitious forces aren't real.
Going out in all directions, isn't it? Pascal's law applies. Pascal's law applies not just to fluids at Blago, it applies to gases too. The gases disperse in all directions. And that's what happens in the Earth if it were really in a vacuum of space.
Except, as you've pointed out, we have the effect of gravity. So all those particles are being pulled towards the Earth. So they won't just disperse into space.
You wouldn't have a gas pressure stuck to the outside of the ball because it fucks off into space. You haven't got gravity pulling it back because it's not a force. Even if it was a force, it's not nearly strong enough.
Just for once, do you think that you could back that up with some sort of maths? So what am I talking about? You don't think maths is real, do you?
So for all you morons that think that you don't need to have an explanation for this because you don't need to have a container or whatever, a density gradient proves that it doesn't blah blah this and blah blah that. You can't have the density gradient unless you've got some kind of containment because it fucks off into space. This is what it does with no gravity, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Without gravity, the atmosphere would fuck off into space. But the mere fact we have a pressure gradient shows two things. One, there isn't a physical container like a dome or anything, as the definition of gas pressure mentions having a uniform density. And two, there is some kind of force acting on the atmosphere. Otherwise, that gradient does not exist.
Even if you did have gravity, it would be like the minus. Like, let's see if we can get this into like number 1. No, you can't even have 1. It's such a small amount. There is no gravity. Even if there was, it is not strong enough. Not only is it not strong enough, the only way that you can have a gas pressure in a vacuum is if you have a container of some kind.
My god, you're a fucking dipshit. Well, answer me this, dumbass warrior. We know we have a pressure gradient, right? Which means our atmosphere goes from 14.7 psi at sea level to 0.001 psi of outer space. We don't need a barrier between 14.7 and 14.69 psi. So why do we need a barrier between 0.002 and 0.001 psi? We don't because of one thing. You know what it is. You've mentioned it several times, Anthony. I know what it is. Should we ask Desert Fire what it is?
Gravity, you fucking retard! Gravity! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity!
If you have a container, then it's dead easy because all of it's contained. The way we see it, you get your density gradient from the fact that it's dynamic, it's mixed up by the sun, the hydrogen cycle, the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, everything's all being mixed up by the sun and all of those creation of gases, all at surface level. That's where the density gradient comes from, and it's so obvious and intuitive that we live on under or in some kind of containment, and call it dome or whatever, who cares?
It's all mixed up by the sun. Well, if we look at your density tower, where you said the sun was lighter than the air and everything else, that would be like using a ping pong ball to mix up an Olympic swimming pool. You fuck nugget.
This is what ballers think's happening. No, that's not a vacuum when there's pressure like that, is it? So really, we need to turn the particles right down, because that's how many particles there really are in a vacuum. Basically, bugger all. There you go. And let's remove the gravity. Oh, where's the atmosphere gone? It's fucked off into space, hasn't it? So Blago, fight the flat earth. All of you stupid morons that think that you can have gas pressure, even with gravity. You can't. Gravity's not a force, it's an effect. It can't cause anything.
Yep, turn off gravity and take away the gas particles, and there is no atmosphere. Fucking genius.
Does it make a displacement? Does it force a displacement? If it forces a displacement, according to Newton, there is force. This is just normal table salt from your favourite supermarket. Other supermarkets are available. We can tell that the density of the egg is equal to the part in the glass where the liquid is. What I'm now going to try and prove is that if I change the density of the medium, I will cause the effect by adding salt. So if I can change it, because I'm the experimenter, and I'm manipulating my presumed cause, my independent variable is the medium, that egg moves, I've caused it. We know the parts per million is about 300. All we need to do is pour some of this in. Hey, what do you know? The eggs immediately moved. Didn't have to wait for that, did we? So, what's the explanation? Well, I'm going to measure this now. This isn't going to be much more above 300. However, if it reads anything above 300, then that'll do for me. How do I reset? There we go. So the density is reading around about 309, 308, 309. You can have a look at that on the camera if you want to zoom in. But I've just made the egg move. So what's the cause? Well, the scientific method states that the independent variable is the presumed cause, and I presumed that changing the density of the liquid with salt would cause displacement. Newton's first law of motion states that every object will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force, and I've obviously created a force. The density of the medium has displaced the egg. The egg moves. That's an accelerating mass. So therefore, Newton states that there is a force. I caused it with this. So in scientific method, the cause of the displacement is this. I've caused it. I've manipulated it. I added the salt. It caused something. I did it. I'm within scientific method.
Next up, a quick look at Riley looking at my channel again. I know you watch everything I do, Anthony. In this clip, old Dum Dum is listening to me debate Harold, hashtag stop censoring Harold, and we come to the question of whether time can be an independent variable. Let's listen to what happens.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Is time an independent or dependent variable?
Time.
Is time a dependent or independent variable? Well, we know that time, whatever time may or may not be, is not perceptible by touch. We can't manipulate it, and by definition, you've got to manipulate it. Time is something. There is a factor involved with time, and I'm going to say that it's a variable that's not changed during an experiment. Now, what Howard then does is he starts to think about what is the effect of it. So let's hear how he addresses the question.
This is a good one. Well done, team.
An independence or a dependent variable?
Because you said gravity is never manipulated. It can't be.
Please show the camera
I'm
so he can
asking
see
you.
my reaction to his answer.
2 secs, putting it on.
Pretty simple question if you are well versed in
It is
the
a simple
scientific
question,
method,
but
like you
it's
appear to be. Or you proclaim to
it's
be,
something
I
I've
guess.
never really thought. It's more for philosophy, isn't it? Time.
No.
I mean, you can't manipulate
No.
time,
Wrong.
so I would say that.
Right, let me explain why you're wrong there, Howard. Howard, right, listen, okay? So I have got 5 cups of tea, right? And I want to do an experiment to find out what the perfect amount of brewing is for me. The only thing that I do different is I leave tea bags in each cup for a different amount of time. What have I done? I've manipulated the time in the experiment.
No, doofus. You haven't manipulated the time in the experiment. You've manipulated
Different
the
amount of
passage
time. What have I done? Sweet bejeebers, that was fucking stupid. So according to Anthony, time can't be an independent variable, but the passage of time can be. Because apparently they're different things? No. Just no. Okay, everyone watching this, pause the video and go to Google and type in, is time an independent variable? Done? Good. Well, what you've probably found is this page that says very clearly, time is an independent variable, and then every link you check will say the same thing. Sleeping Warrior is so dishonest and stupid that he will even show a citation, and it will say that time is an independent variable, but still say it isn't. Fuck me.
5 divided by 0 is 5. In the real world. Guys, listen, let me...
Wait, Riley, hang on. Riley, hang on. I have to address Ali real fast. Ali, if you have 5 apples and you do nothing to them, you're not applying an operator to them.
Right, but so if you have 5 apples and you try multiplying or dividing by absolutely nothing with them in the real world, you've still got your 5 apples. However, in contrast, in mathematics, the minute you press that function button, be it divide or multiply, you then lose your apples, and then you ask it to do nothing, and then you get an error. But in real world, you haven't lost your apples or got an error. But in mathematics, you have. That's not the same.
That's not the question that division is answering. When you divide by your logic, when you divide 4 apples into 2, you still have 4 apples, right?
No.
In the real world, if you have 4 apples and divide them into 2 groups, you still have 4 apples. Therefore, the answer is 4. No, that's not how it works. You're supposed to answer how many apples are in each group. Now, if you take 5 apples and divide them into 0 groups, how many apples are in each group?
So when you said before, if you had 4 apples and divide by 2, you've still got your 4 apples. You haven't, because if you've divided by 2, I've got the other 2 apples. You don't have them anymore.
Exactly. There are 2 groups of 2 apples for 4 total, Anthony.
Yeah, but you don't have 4 anymore because I've got 2.
Guys,
The sum total of apples is still 4.
guys.
No, you've got 2, I've got 2. That's the function.
Yes, then that is a total of how many apples, Anthony?
I had a simple point I was making, fellas.
So you have 5 apples and divide it into 0 people. How many do no people have, right? How many does each person in that group of 0 have?
The key word is you. If you divide by 0 apples, you've still got your 5 apples.
What is Big? I think Big Blue's trying to get something across here.
Yeah, well, I was making a simple point. If 5 divided by 0 mathematically is a puzzle to you, Anthony, how do you plan on understanding tensor calculus? Because that's Einstein.
I'm not planning on understanding tensor calculus. Why is that a red herring?
It's not a red herring. You're trying to disprove somebody using their own math, but you don't understand 5 divided by 0.
Yeah, listen,
that's my
if you divide anything and then you divide by nothing, you've still got your 5.
5 divided by 0 is 5? What the... If anyone needs a remedial classroom, Riley, it's you. Right, you bunch of idiots. Today, we're going to do some basic maths. What's that noise? Mr. Riley, what are you doing? And you couldn't hold it? So you thought no one would notice? Yeah, well, we did notice. Please go to the bathroom to do that. So some of you morons don't know how to divide 5 by 0. In mathematics, division by 0 is division where the divisor is 0. Such a division can be formally expressed as where A is the dividend. In ordinary arithmetic, the expression has no meaning, as there is no number which, when multiplied by 0, gives A, and so division by 0 is undefined. So 5 and any number divided by 0 is undefined. Your homework is to try and survive the night without accidentally stabbing yourself in the eye or something. And if you don't think all that stupid was enough, then get a load of this. During a recent live stream, Leaky Worrier was obviously bursting and got caught short. He couldn't hold in his pee, so relieved himself live on stream. Just have a listen.
I just said for curiosity's sake. I want to know what we've been contravening.
I agree, you're right. I don't agree. I don't think that you've done any wrong there by asking what law.
I could, and they started to get irritated. So that's
the thing is, the thing is though, the cop doesn't have to show you the code. He just brings you before the judge, and the judge has to show you the code.
Correct, but that's not what happened though, is it?
Well, no, but the point is, so asking the officer for the code is irrelevant.
He tries to hide it so well, but just have a look at the face he makes. You can't hide that involuntary twitch, Leaky. This is one of the dumbest things he's ever done, mainly because he thought that nobody would notice. Riley, you're dumb as fuck.
Oh yeah, like density tower, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll take the cherry tomato that's in the middle, just because it's in the middle and it's a solid. Now, what we can do is we can use any of these layers, liquid layers, and we can give them a value, right? We can call them numbers. We can call them anything that denotes like a rank. So you can call it, say, 6, and then not put units to it. Or you could put units to it, and we can call it unicorns. But we know that it's sat in a relative position, relative to the mediums that are around it. Let's give the cherry tomato, say, 5, and the medium above it is 4, and the medium below it is 6. We know that cherry tomato finds its equilibrium at the state 5 that we've called 5.
Why?
We know that if we take the cherry tomato out and put it back in again, it's going to go back to the same place. It's not going to be in 6 or 4. Sorry, it's not going to go 6 or 4. It's going to go back to 5. Agreed?
Anthony, that's a gradient of pressure.
No, it's a density gradient, Craig.
Yeah, what's it caused by?
The density itself, all the relative densities relative to themselves. Pardon?
What's density?
The amount of matter in an object.
It's density of force.
It clearly is a force. You're literally looking at it. You're literally looking at it right now, Craig.
And that's all the stupid that I can take for today. But before I go, I want to say a massive thank you to all my patrons. It's thanks to the support and generosity of you guys that I'm able to do this full time, bring you great content, and continue to fight the stupid. Patrons get to vote on what each episode of my series Stupid Humans will be about, early access to some videos, and the chance to come on some live streams. Your support is amazing. To join, go to patreon.com/FTFE. And thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, then please leave a like, subscribe if you aren't already, and hit the notification bell so you never miss anything from FTFE. If you want to get one of my Sleeping Warrior for Dumb Fuck of the Year shirts, then the link is in the description. Remember, stupidity is not a right. Fight the flat earth. Fight the flat, 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 fight the flat,